think the atmosphere is very nice. You can feel it. I think hopefully all of you can feel the same. As you know, as part of the program, I was going to say a few things about my story. And as I mentioned, the story is so painful that maybe it's not so appropriate for tonight. So let's see. So I just make it up as I go along. The story of, as it was mentioned by Richard, is all about this. You know, just BST. And that could take hours to explain, because it's quite interesting. I was mentioning to someone that actually, if you see the story could be a Hollywood movie. Truly can be a Hollywood movie, and you would only believe it if you see it on the screen. You don't think such a thing could possibly have happened to people. That's for another occasion. This is just to show you how my skills at PowerPoint, in case you thought I don't know how to do PowerPoint. Nice, huh? Okay. Couple of themes that I felt would be useful to share with you based on my own experience were around success and relationships. I was thinking, would it be good to have some titles for this talk along these lines? And in my mind, obviously, I think business is part of life. I don't think of it as something separate. You know, it's just an extension. And the key in my mind is relationship building. And also there's another key that I will explain later on. Whatever, I can do it with the patch on if you feel it's more appropriate. Yeah. Okay, last summer we were in a barbecue and I asked the audience, some people, what do you think of success? What does success mean? And every single one of them said, success is money, is to do with wealth. So when you think about success, you only think about, if you say somebody's successful, you generally think he's wealthy or he's doing well. You know, we tend to associate success with money. And another interesting thing at that event was when I asked that question, nobody asked me what I thought, which is another subject I will come to in a minute. So if we talk about success and relationship with wealth, well, obviously there's success in wealth. But success, in my mind, has got nothing to do with wealth. It's a byproduct of what you do and how you conduct yourself. That's the definition that I think most of the people refer to it as, you know, to do with wealth and how successful someone is. I have a different view on that. I think this is the most important thing. The impact that you have on others. I've been thinking about this for some time, and I've summarized it in two things in terms of success. Success is impact that you have on others. That impact could be just walking down the Newbury High Street and smiling at someone, making their day slightly better for some milliseconds, seconds, or minutes. Today I was running at Greenham Common, and two things happened for the first time this morning. I was basically bored this morning. I didn't know what to do. And so I went for a run. I don't like running. It's boring. And two things happened. Once, for the first time, I went past a lady, and the child in the pushchair said hello to me. This is the first. I always thought that it's just my children who say hello to people. So that was the first today. The second thing, which was very, you know, very unusual, as I was running back home, there was a lady who actually stopped me, and I'm not a keen jogger or anything, but I just wanted to continue getting home. And she stopped me, very un-British thing to do. And said, oh, do you know whether this is a black adder or a white adder or something? I've just seen this. And I stopped, and what I liked is the fact that somebody making conversation when you don't expect it. Again, these two things have never, I can't remember anybody when I'm running has stopped me asking me about an animal. I mean, I said, sorry, you've got the wrong person. I haven't got a clue about any species apart from, my own. And he said, this is, and then I said, okay, by the way, you've just ruined my run anyway. And I said, but did this, and then I saw this thing slithering through black and white. I don't know if it was an adder or whatever. And I said to her, did this make your day? She said yes, and she was a very nice lady. She was a very posh and very, she didn't like the type of lady that wouldn't start a conversation unless they've been introduced, by 10 people. This joke that, you drop 2 English people in an island and 2 Irish people and 2 English people and 2 Persian people and 2 Arabs and all these things. And you come back a year later, everybody's doing something and the 2 British people standing next to each other. They, what's going on? Well, they are waiting to be introduced to each other. So this basically, you don't expect things from someone. So and then I said to her, did it make your day? She said, yes. I said, well, thank you. That's good. At least I've contributed to your experience. And so this was today. And I think this is what this is all about. And I had an experience of it today. And it's the impact that you make. Sometimes the impact could be just a smile. Sometimes could be the fact that you might fancy a lady across the road, but you see somebody else falling down, and you sacrifice going to someone that you want to chat up for the sake of helping this lady. Of course, she must be good looking anyway. So this is the impact that you make in people's life, no matter how big or how small. And the second thing, in my mind, is what you leave behind. That's, in my mind, the definition of success, which has got nothing to do with wealth. As we are here, obviously, on a business meeting, I have to talk about business, but I'll just tell you one more thing. In my mind, the greatest wealth, that's my greatest wealth. And it happens to be, with the private schools that they go to, my biggest investment as well so far in my life. Yeah? So, now if you want to talk about success in business, obviously it has different levels. And I was talking to Russell, and I said, people are in business, there are different business type of people, and different animals, as I would like to refer to them. Some people want to grow their own business to worldwide domination. Some people want to change. Some people want to have certain, lots of things to do. And some people, I guess, to a certain extent, might get bored, a bit like me, quickly once monotony comes in. And so this is where I think people differ. And since I started this, I realized this is what I get the greatest kicks out of. And it could be any sort of business. In fact, there's a gentleman here whose son applied, and I was just so impressed with his business that I invited him to come here. Unfortunately, he can't, but his father, James' father from Crew Gardening, is here, I think. Just a round of applause for this gentleman. I was so impressed with his son and his attitude, and he wanted to actually start training people in gardening and buy a van and so on and so forth. So I unfortunately couldn't make it tonight, but I just wanted to tell him that I want to work with him on a small project. And it's really, that is very, very exciting. If somebody comes and tells me about a window cleaning business, I have something in my mind that I think this is going to be the window cleaning business that like no others. It could be anything that, this event, I hope, is an example. I've never done events before, and never actually invested in anybody on a formal basis. But in my mind, it's just making it special is what's nice. You know, it's no longer enough to do good. Good is not enough. I did a presentation for Prestige regarding customer services. And you know, it's no good having good customer services in this day and age. It's useless. You have to excel. You have to do something above and beyond the call. Otherwise, you like most people. Obviously, luckily, there are lots of people who don't do good customer service. So if you're doing good customer service, you fall, in my mind, in, let's say, 1% of category of companies who are doing good customer service. If you do something well beyond the call of duty, it's going to get remembered by people for a long, long time. If you do something that no other company does, and I think in any sort of business, I think what distinguishes a business, one type of business from another is that if you like the X factor or something they do differently to everybody else who does the same thing in that industry. So I think I covered this, and then I thought about what would be, you know, looking back at my own experience, what would I consider some characteristics that would be useful as sort of pointers. And how would you know whether you have those qualities? You know, I certainly didn't know. I just didn't have a clue whether I'm made for this or whether this is my calling. And I think this calling is also very important, that I think all of us, when you look at yourselves first, you realize what you have been brought to this world to do. And this is the thing, that the quicker you realize what it is that you are supposed to do, the more happier, successful, and content you will become. Because you'll be doing something that you naturally gifted, good at, it's easy for you to do, and it's very, very exciting. There was a research done by a company that contacted, you know, thousands of executives regarding their skill set of good, average, excellent, something like that. They realized there's a specific category called genius. And that category is where somebody goes and says, Harry is excellent in figures. He's not excellent, he's actually genius with figures. So they realized that in people, in all of us, there is one attribute, or it could be many, depending on how smart and, you know, how gifted we are, that is very, very specific. And it's that category that you basically is your home, in my mind. This is where you thrive in, and this is where you really shine. And the quicker we know where that category is, the easier life is. I realized at some stage that I think I enjoy helping people fulfill their dreams. And this is what the basis of Coras was, because I knew how much effort I had to put through when we first started the company with Shawn. And so that's why I don't want to talk about the history. It's so emotional. So having been there, in fact, once somebody actually offered us £10,000, and we were desperate. We didn't have a pot to in, you know, nothing. You know, we even had the court order for repossession of our house. And we were so desperate. And somebody came around and says, well, how much money do you need? It's £10,000. Would it be enough? Said, £10,000 would have been like £10 million now. Well, it was fantastic. He said, yeah, great. As luck would have it, we never had to get that money. I mean, one of the interesting aspects about our story is that we've never had to borrow money. Nobody ever gave us any money, neither the banks nor anything else. So we, in the end, never had to take that £10,000. But I can remember the feeling of somebody giving you £10,000, how it felt. I can feel it, you know? This is different than talking about it. And another reason, as we're talking about this thing, as you know, another reason I wanted to do this is that there are plenty of consultants, there are plenty of business advisors galore. And they're all doing a good job, at a certain level, we've had, as the company was taking off, it's in the program that we were chosen by Southeast as 2 companies in the south of England with high potential for growth, and we learned so much from some of these consultants. But there's a whole world of difference between that and having somebody who is a different animal, who's actually done it, and actually can show you what to do if you get involved in litigation. If you get involved, we had to get involved in litigation with an American company. It took 2 years for this litigation. A day before court, they settled on a 6-figure salary sum. Our payment to solicitors were around 20,000, 30,000 pounds. And this solicitor had the guts 6 months later come back and say, sorry, I undercharge you by 750 pounds. Please pay me 750 pounds. And yeah, so all of those things that, they settled just a day, on the day before the court, and it was a big, big sum. So those are the, this is what business is all about. It's not about theory. There's nothing wrong with theory. Some people can talk about it. There's nothing wrong with MBAs and so on and so forth. This is great stuff. But in practice is something else that unless you, in fact, when we first started, I've come from an engineering background, Show from finance. We thought, hey, between us, we're pretty cool. Hey, I know things. I've worked for quite a few companies. So we should be fine. Ladies and gentlemen, we didn't have a clue, really. We were clueless. Okay, 7 people. This is the bit to show you that I don't really know how to use PowerPoint because this should have been one item at a time. So it's just all of it. Okay, vision. Okay? Long-term, very long-term eternity. In fact, I don't think of somebody asking me about investment, how far you're going to invest and where you're going to pull out and so forth. I don't think about the time scale. I don't think about time scale of my own lifetime. I'm thinking about generations after. It's not just what I get. It's not just what my children will get. It's not just what their children's children will get. If they marry and have children, you never know. By then, everybody could be sort of not marrying or could be, same sex and so on and so forth. It's just, I'm a bit sort of left out. I only have one marriage, and most of my friends are on second or third. So I introduced Mira as my first wife, not to most people. So just to fit in, It's that. It's very much long term. And long term is, in my mind, is eternity. Instinct to build and develop. I'll talk about that a bit later. And whether you know how to build and how to develop, whether you know what is the next thing to do and what's the thing after that, and knowing the order, I think is important. What to do now, what to do next. Never screw anyone, even when the opportunity is there, even when they're so tempting, even when a customer pays you twice as much as they need to pay you, and you still don't have the pot to. Never do that. Doggedness, of course, we could have folded 200 times. God knows how we actually are still here, really. And always doing the right thing, not doing what is right for you. Quick learner, learn the minute. I often say to people, everything I've learned has been from others. I've never learned anything from myself or anywhere else. It's just by talking and by actually showing interest in others. And business etiquette, my favorite subject. For God's sake, if somebody rings you, respond. Doesn't matter what. If they send you an email, respond. Of course, if they're chasing you, it's something different. And if you've already told them, there's nothing wrong with people ringing and say, I want to sell you a printer. You're either interested or not. People are just so used to lying and just having to make up. They think they're being clever by not getting straight to the point. They waste everybody's time, but by not being straight to the point. And I think this is smart. When we first started the company, obviously the 2 Khorasanis, and there were only 2 people in the company, we just thought one of our friends could come act as a name on our PR and stuff, and his name was John Matthews. So we said, okay, you are the marketing manager just in name only. The number of people who rang the company and said, I had this conversation with John Matthews last week. Is he still around? I want to talk to him. You know, he was never there to speak to anyone. But they would just don't want to tell you that people, I don't know what it is, people don't want to tell you the truth. You know, this culture of not telling you the truth, and not telling the truth in front of you. It's weak. This is weakness. Strong people tell you in your face exactly what they think of you. Right to your face, so that they don't have to backbite. They don't have to talk behind you. If they feel something about you, they'll tell it to you. I'd much rather have these people around me than anybody else who would just, you know, we've had our share of backstabbing and so forth, and this is normal. So just get back to people. If you promise them, you know, how many, and this is obviously, if you can do that, success in business is very simple in my mind. Just do the simple things right. Just do the basic things right. If you told them you're going to come back tomorrow, go back tomorrow. Just stick to your words. You know, it's simple, you know, but it's obviously very challenging. I mean, some people just want to make themselves look busy or important, you know, God, you know, all this. You know, unless you're doing like this, then you're nobody. You can't just be alone and standing here. You feel like an, you know, plum. You know, you just have to look busy all the time. You know, look busy and it looks good. And you can't even speak a word to someone because you're just doing this all the time. When I did my course in systems and control engineering, people used to ask me, what is this course about? I said, I don't know, I just started. When I was in the second year, they still asked me the same question. When I graduated, they still asked me the same. I said, I don't know. And sometimes I wonder, rather than going to do engineering, I should have done something like business or sales or marketing or something like this, or maybe it was completely wasted. This diagram was, this course was all about this, which I think is the principle of life, and you can apply it in business. This course was all about systems. And the system is you have an input, which goes into a system, you have an output. What's important is this feedback. You take the feedback and you change the input to get a better output. So constantly, in business, you're doing that. You're just improving all the time. And if you can do that, if you can see what's wrong, so okay, this is the first event. Now, I don't know whether we're going to have another event or not. I mean, all the sounds are positive. But for sure, the next event would be one notch, if not 4 or 5 notches higher than this. For sure, absolutely. Otherwise, I haven't learned anything. You know, if the next one would be exactly like this, not good enough. You just take the input and the feedback and you move on. Okay. This is a bit 18 over or 21 over. I think the two tools for me are your body parts that are very important in life and business. And that's what I always go by. Okay? So, in fact, is having that, the secret of success in my mind, is having that and having the other one. Okay, that's another subject. The other thing about relationship, you know, it's just fantastic. People know how to start and finish relationship, and it looks as though some people can only cope with one friendship at a time. You know, they just start and they fall out with someone, and they just, you know, nothing is built, you know. Just developing that relationship is very, very important. Not just creating it, developing and nurturing. And this happens in life. If I've seen someone for the first time, it should make a difference that if I've seen that somebody for the second time, I should be at a different level of relationship. If I've seen it at the 10th time, it should be further up. Otherwise, nothing has happened. If I see someone that after I've seen so many times and I'm still at the beginning, nothing has been developed, you know. Showing interest and being genuine. So in summary, 2 qualities apart from the 2 body parts, so that's, you know, something you can think about. The 2 qualities in my mind are vision. And vision is you have to imagine exactly, you know, I always say to people, I could imagine having a company with a flag right at the top. I could feel it years and years ago. And vision by itself is of no good if there's no action, of course. So taking the action when you have the vision. So the minute something comes to your mind, if somebody says, let's go flying, you're off, because it's something you can do. You know, you can take action immediately. Sometimes somebody says there's an idea, but implementing it could take time. But if you can do it there and then, it's done, it's out of your way. And then what happens is that your mind starts processing faster and faster things, you know, the speed, and you can't catch up even with your own voice, and your mind is 200 miles away, and so on and so forth. So you just become faster and faster, and you can cope a lot easier. So the vision, and the second thing is relationship building. I think if you have those two keys, how to build relationships and how to have the vision, I think you would be fantastic and successful. There's no doubt. Thank you for your time. And I think you need to have a round of applause now.